to VUT Talks. Ladies and gentlemen, we are in studio. I'm here with my co-host Vincent. Welcome, Vincent. And by the way, today we talk fourth industrial revolution. Vincent, tell me, what is the first thing that comes to mind when you think fourth industrial revolution?
Yo, fourth industrial revolution, my friend, is another topic on its own. Because when I think of it, I see loss of jobs. I see robots. I see robots cleaning for me, cleaning everything, you know.
Sorry, on that note, you know the way I'm lazy now. I'm so excited, when I think for the Industrial Revolution, especially in line with the robots. The way I'm lazy, I just see robots cleaning for me, like you were saying, driving my car and all of that. But in any event, I think just in terms of the World Economic Forum, right? If you can just give our viewers a brief understanding of what this fourth industrial revolution is all about, because I'm sure everybody talks about it, everybody sees a lot of changes happening, but I don't think people are aware of what fourth industrial revolution is. The World Economic Forum defined it for us. Can you briefly brief us on that?
Of course. The World Economic Forum states that we stand on the brink of a technological revolution that will fundamentally alter the way we live, work, and relate to one another. That was exactly what I was telling you before you.
So there will be a nice change in our lives, right? Taken over by technology, by artificial intelligence, the other day we were doing a show on MOOCs as part of the fourth industrial revolution, the technology that is available, for especially in higher education. So that is basically what the fourth industrial revolution is. It's a blur between the different lines, which we call the technology lines, is it
artificial
intelligence and all of that. Yes. Okay, do you think this is a good thing?
I think it could be a good and a bad thing. Yes,
okay.
Because we can't really say that we are ready for the fourth industrial revolution because it's still in a process. And most of the things that we're experiencing now, like in higher education, universities are not ready. Let's look at VUT for instance. It's still behind with a lot of technology. So those kind
even
of
with the third industrial revolution.
I don't know if Professor Zide is listening to that, but he's going to kill you.
Not today, bro.
Okay, but furthermore, talking about the World Economic Forum states that in its scale, scope, and complexity, that transformation will be unlike anything humankind has experienced before. We do not yet know just how it will unfold, but one thing is clear. The response to it must be integrated and comprehensive, involving all stakeholders of the global polity, from the public and private sectors to academia and civil society. What do you think about that?
About what? Which part now?
Okay, here it's saying that we are not sure about the response. Yes.
I think the response is overwhelming already. You see, especially in terms of artificial intelligence. We see the drones. I so badly want a drone. Anyway, you see the drones. We see the self-driven cars. We see the software that's on the market. You see. So I already think that, I don't know in terms of readiness, especially South Africa, but I know, it's overwhelming, the response already. I think everybody's going for this, and everybody, I think, is a little bit scared also. You earlier talked about, job losses. I know I had some of my students at VUT was asking me, but ma'am, what is now, our position if robots are going to come and take over our job? But I still believe, right, as much as we have artificial intelligence, right, being ready out in the market, right, and I still believe that there is still some skills that as human we acquire to operate the machines. We're going to need the machines, right, or as humans we're going to operate the machines. The machines are going to need us as much as we're going to need them. But you see, so in terms of readiness, I'm not so sure, but I know everybody, we are alert and we are waiting on this, revolution to hit us by storm.
But let's put it this way then. Let's make it a bit much broader.
Yeah.
Let's see China
Mm.
and compare it to South Africa.
Mm.
What is it that China is doing so right that South Africa is doing so wrong? Because you can, if you would compare maybe, let's say, a 10-year-old in China, and a 10-year-old here, those people are so advanced, it's not even funny. What is it that South Africa is doing so wrong, China is doing so right? How can we improve on that?
Well, I can't answer you that one. But what I think is happening is that there's a lot of investment in terms of the education system. There's a lot of resources that goes into the education system. So with this, yesterday we spoke about also the role of higher education when it comes to this fourth industrial revolution. You see, and higher education will be the drivers of this fourth industrial revolution because they are the one who's going to make those robots. So I think China, they invest a lot of money, in equipping those kids or the students with the necessary skill to be able to build these things. I think with South Africa, we lack a little bit in terms of resources. Not a little bit, I think too much. In terms of resources, I think we lack a lot of, drive. There's not a lot of drive. You must remember, and I don't want to bring in the past injustices here, but you must remember also our history, where we come from. We are 20 years in democracy, and as a developing country, we are still going there. So I think our shift should change a little bit, especially to prepare for the readiness. But we have also, I must say, like universities like UCT, and we have other very good and world-recognized universities that is already on par, with other international universities when it comes to what is the word? Technology. When it comes to technology, we are not as advanced yet where we want to be, but we are heading there. We are heading there. So China, they put all their resources, into technology. As of South Africa, we don't do that too much. That is just my view, or that is how I see it. I don't know if you want to add on to that for our viewers.
You just made me think of another thing, because when you're saying that universities still have to position themselves, if I'm correct, with the fourth industrial revolution, it also brings MOOCs inside that. So are you saying to me that universities, like buildings and structures of universities, are going to be irrelevant because of MOOCs being introduced now? Are they going to become irrelevant?
What do you mean with buildings and structures?
No, with MOOCs you do everything online.
Yes.
You don't have to.
The massive online, or the massive open online courses.
Yes. You don't have to be there. You don't have to go to class. You can do everything online.
You know what, Ne? With MOOCs, MOOCs has its own challenges that we will see later on. There's its own challenges. For me, MOOCs, it's a very good thing. But what I believe is there should still be a blur between traditional education, right, and then what we have, or what the MOOCs, right? Because some professions, they still need traditional education to flourish, okay? Like for instance, with engineering, most of the students, they work with their hands. Their hands on their, or some artisans courses, You can't learn that on the course, You have to have some, this is just my feeling, where you have to have somebody to show you how to do it.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
Like, for instance, with my profession with law, I know some people, some skills you only acquire when you sit in court and you basically, you observe your peers, and it's not just one peer. You have to observe a lot of lawyers, to see how this thing is done, because everybody has its different style in order for you to find your style. So what I'm trying to say with this is you need to blur the two, Yes, obviously there is some concerns about, faculties. It will obviously shrink because you won't have a lot of people coming to class, The MOOCs makes provision for the capacity, one of the advantages, I think, it's for the capacity. We don't have a lot of students, cramped in. But, the reality is, how are you going to mark as a lecturer now, 500 scripts,
but listen, how are we going to integrate traditional with the fourth industrial revolution, like as in a reality? Like if they would say, you know what, Louisa, we are giving you this project. Integrate the fourth industrial revolution with the traditional sector.
In terms of MOOCs,
yes,
you will have to find a balance. For me, you will have to find a balance, you know. Some things, you know, you can just put it online, right? But other things you cannot put online. So what you have to do is, as the educator, that is what I think, you know, as the educator, you have to strike the balance to know this is the outcomes that I want to achieve for my children, or for my students, right? And, you know, this outcome, it's fine if I align it with MOOCs or develop a curriculum that caters for MOOCs, right? And you must know this content of the work, or this, if I can put it, content, can simply not be catered for by MOOCs. So as the lecturer you have, but I think there's a lot of training that's going to go into this, especially in terms of higher education and or education in general. I think our departments, Department of Basic Education and Higher Education, they will have to talk to each other, or they will have to talk to the relevant stakeholders, including the unions and the lecturers and teachers alike, you know, to see how they can balance this.
But the reality is that we have seen how our government is working. And the easiest things that they have to do, like maybe for instance, they have to clean classes so that they can always be clean. Make sure that the classes are clean. But those kind of things are not happening. So when you talk about resources, if they are having a hard time about maybe making a feeding scheme for the poor and feeding those children, so what about making the fourth industrial revolution to be a success? How is that going to happen? Yes.
Yeah. I really don't know, I really don't know, especially in South Africa. But what I think is, you know what, ne? Internationally or globally, we are forced to follow the trends. Okay? Otherwise, we're going to stay behind. Okay? Yes, my view is in South Africa specifically, or in Africa, maybe our pace is very slow, but we introduce, you know? Because remember, we need the international markets to invest in our country or into our continent. And they cannot invest if we are not on par. So government will actually be forced, right? Because they can just be benefits for them,
but
like in order to, you know, what is this? I don't want to use the word technology. What is the word now? Surveillance systems. We talk about control, digital infrastructure. That is very imperative to have for every government. So I think government will slowly but surely they will introduce. I don't know if you have a different view on that.
Okay, but
not a negative view, please. Not a negative view.
No,
I still believe that there's a lot of hope for us.
No, why do we need investors all the time in order to, for especially us Africans?
Yes.
Especially, we always go outside. Hey, America, hey, please come invest. We want to see this and that happening. You know.
But that is just unfortunately how it is. You know, you get countries that are leading, and then you get the followers. Maybe we are just the followers. Okay, just quickly before we go, okay. Vincent, what do you think will be the impact of this fourth industrial revolution in shaping our future?
You know, in my view, I don't know if ever you're asking it in the context of higher education or in general, but if I would answer it in general, I see that here in South Africa, we are not positioned well enough in order to accommodate the fourth industrial revolution. So, in closing, I would say that South Africa is not ready for the fourth industrial revolution. However, there is hope. Yes.
Do you think there's hope for South Africa? Well,
but we are not ready, Shem. We are not ready,
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Vincent, thanks for joining me in studio today. Guys, we'll see you next time.
Ciao.